Hello and welcome to D2C Podcast. I'm Eric Dyck. A few weeks back, we put out a challenge to our top past podcast guests on D2C Twitter to return to the scene of the crime just to see if anyone can top Nik Sharma's appearance in terms of listen numbers. If there's anyone who can do it, it's Cody Plofker, who burst onto the scene leading growth at 8-figure on the way to 9-figure revenue giant Jones Road Beauty. Today's talk focuses heavily on why Cody is massively bullish on YouTube ads, especially when it comes to finding net new customers. He'll walk you through his ad strategy there, as well as going deep on his meta ads funnels. We'll add in a dash of hot take on TikTok and a masterclass on offer, including the power of gift with purchase. And you've got the recipe for an all-time classic D2C podcast episode. Call it the Plofker factor. Call it the code of Cody. Just don't hesitate to block off your calls and listen to this podcast right now. On with the show.
In terms of crafting an offer, partly why we wanted to do a gift with purchase is it's an attractive offer. You can test a threshold, right? You only get it above a certain amount, so it can raise average order value. So we tested no offer versus a mini mascara versus a mini hippie stick. It's like a skincare thing in here, right? That we don't normally sell. We did a $100 threshold. We bumped average order value by 10+% with gift with purchase with very marginal decreases in conversion rate. So better revenue per session. The revenue per session made up for the additional cost. And this is why offers are so important. There's almost nothing we could do to creative or landing pages to bump average order value by 10%. I don't care how good you are at marketing, you can't. Offer is the only way to do that. It's just your biggest lever.
In marketing, content is everything, but keeping up with the never-ending demand for UGC photos and videos along with generating product reviews at scale can be brutal. Coley solves this problem with their content generation platform. Coley is like a content fairy godmother, providing stunning photos, videos, and reviews that help turn your potential customers into happy ones. Bid farewell to exorbitant production costs and embrace the magic of Coley's solutions. World-renowned brands like Samsonite and Bonobos trust Coley's cutting-edge software and outrageously skilled customer success team to create the marketing assets they need. Transform your content game by visiting coley.com/podcast. Really good to have you back again, Cody. When you add up all your episodes, and I think the recency of your episodes, you're one of our most listened to, if not our most listened to podcast guests. And I think with this one, we're going to be dropping so much good shit that like this will skyrocket to the charts and you'll take down Nik Sharma and force him to come back on. That's why I'm back on.
I saw him up there. I was like, damn, I got to beat that guy. Even if it's like one episode for him and three to beat him, I'm going to do it.
And you're pretty fresh in the game too here, right? Like Nik's been around for a while. I feel like you're a real fresh-faced up-and-comer, I feel like. You just came. Did you just speak at the Vaynerchuk event, or is that still coming?
It's coming up soon. I don't know. I got a bunch of things coming up soon, but that's coming up soon.
That's cool, man.
Yeah,
well, last time I think our best podcast was me just like riffing on your Twitter feed and just being like, what are you talking about these days? Because I know it's hyper relevant. Like just for our audience actually who is listening for the first time, catch us up on where you're at with Jones Road Beauty. Because I know you're one of those brands that's experiencing what we like to call in the business hyper growth, and I know you're kind of at the helm of that. So catch us up on where you are with Jones Road Beauty.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited for this and excited for you to dig through my Twitter feed and see what dumb shit I've said. Sorry, I don't know if I can curse or not.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah, man, I'm pumped, but we're probably about 2.5 years old. This year in October, we'll be 3 years old. Direct consumer beauty brand founded by my mom, Bobby Brown, and I'm CMO, so driving growth, driving all of our marketing, mainly direct consumer. We opened up our second brick and mortar store this year, which I call direct to consumer. I don't get why people don't, because you're not going through a wholesaler. So that's kind of our strategy. We're not in any big wholesaler, really. So just trying to grow. We did solid 8 figures last year. That was triple what we did the year prior, which was 8 figures, to give some example. And then this year we're budgeting to about double that, on pace for a little bit more than double what we did last year. Haven't raised any money. So yeah, it's fun and growing, and who knows where we take it.
Leading this natural beauty movement, which I think is such a key differentiator for you guys. I think it's just it's a growth. It's still a big growth movement, right?
Yeah. I mean, Bobby's kind of, famous for coining like the term no makeup makeup, and it's, probably was way ahead of it, but yeah, it's what we're known for. And I think we're lucky to have a really wide demographic. We're not going after a specific segment, so it's a really big TAM and probably a really underserved market as well in the kind of, I got to figure out a better word for this, but the older demographic. Most beauty brands are, now starting to go after Gen Z and younger audiences. And obviously there's a huge market, with a lot of available capital, but a lot of, different desires in that market.
Very cool. Let's get right into the nitty gritty here. What do you where are you at with TikTok versus Meta ad spending? What's your split look like these days? Is it, I know Meta's just so much bigger, but I know you also have a pretty good TikTok presence. So I'm curious.
Not anymore. It's, I'm learning. I'm trying to be open-minded. I'll form strong opinions. I'll definitely test stuff, but I'll be the first one to admit that, I've made some mistakes. And I think I think TikTok, we rode it hot last time I was on. I know we talked a lot about it. There was a point where our spend was equal, Meta and
I remember
TikTok.
that, yeah.
CPAs were great, but the cohorts were just not good. They were pretty terrible, actually. Could be various reasons, but yeah, so we've really pulled back. I mean, we're probably spending $1,000 a day on TikTok right now. Part of it is just like creative bandwidth. It's just, that's the thing, is when you start branching out in channels and stuff like that, and we do almost everything in-house, like we just don't have the bandwidth to really focus currently with understaffed. We need video editors, we need creative strategists. Like we just don't have the bandwidth to really focus on it. So it's like, that's to do a channel properly. So we could probably spend $5K a day on TikTok and be fine, but we're really trying to focus. And so Meta's the biggest one. We're actually spending less as a percentage this year compared to last year because YouTube has taken up a lot of spend. We're spending about 12 to 13% of our spend on YouTube. And that's been awesome. That's been great. I think we can probably keep that percentage the same, maybe bump it. So I consider that our top of funnel. I don't consider Meta top of funnel for an 8-figure and above business. I think it does a really, really good job of going after people who are likely to buy and who already know about you. But, a lot of the traffic there is let's say it's like 55% of the traffic, if we're using like Northbeam, is new traffic, and the rest is returning. No matter what we try, by the way, it's not like exclusions are not going to fix that. That's just who it is. But YouTube, we see about 75% of traffic being new. So I consider that our top of funnel. The hard part with that is it's a lot harder to track. It's less click-based. There's a longer lag, a longer time duration. So that's a lot of what I spend my time thinking about and trying to find solutions to do to validate it. You got to go beyond click-based stuff. So that's kind of where I'm thinking. But yeah, we're testing some Twitter. Like I hear Pinterest is back, but it's just trying to find 1 to 2 channels. You don't have to be everywhere.
Yeah, I think I was just reading the tweet from ButcherBox founder CEO Mike Salguero, who I want to get on the podcast. And he was talking about, everyone's talking omni-channel. You need to be omni-channel. It's like we had 2 channels basically, right? Or, just scaling with Meta.
Do you know who you should have on? Do you know, I'm going to butcher his name, Babak? He's CMO of GoodRx, founder of Nautilus. He's brilliant. He was like one of the first people I kind of, connected with and learned from. Cool. He used to be like head of data at like Beachbody, but he's brilliant. Nice. You should definitely have him on. But one of the things I remember he said is 2 offers, 2 channels. And I think it was like into like mid 8 figures. So that's always stuck with me. Like 2 offers, 2 channels, and you can ride that super far.
I want to get into offers and your sort of like simple, I think it was 8-step plan, the way you think about running Meta ads, super, super critical. But I'm also curious, you've also talked a lot about really basing your Meta ad spend based on new customers. And really, not enough people are probably breaking down or really understanding how many new customers they're bringing through these channels. So talk a little bit about how you think about really focusing on new customers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it probably starts with the blended metrics, right? Like everyone's talking about MER and stuff like that, and super important. Or some people then take it too far and they're like, MER is pointless. Like clearly there's some point of it. But I think, at the end of the day, you should probably have like a hierarchy. And, obviously it's cash in the bank. It's what your P&L says is kind of number one. And if you're a marketer, you need to be able to read that and understand, fluctuations and efficiency and spend and how that correlates with what percentage of your overall revenue you're spending on marketing. And, your contribution margin. That's most important. And then number 2 is what I'd call blended metrics. So daily, right? Every single day, you should be looking at, let me just kind of pull it up, but you should be looking at your, revenue, your spend, your MER. So that's, revenue divided by spend. You should be looking at your AMER, which is revenue from new customers divided by spend. You should be looking at your CAC, and your number of new customers that you have. Like, that's what you should be looking at every day. You don't need to look at conversion rate. You don't need to look at AOV. You don't need to look at number of sessions. Those are not your KPIs. The numbers I mentioned above it are your KPIs. And it's going to differ for every business, but like, that's what I look at. And that's what I look at for most businesses. And then, let's say one's not good, then I'll certainly look at the other metrics below it, but I don't call them key performance indicators. They're kind of just performance indicators, but the KPIs are the main ones. And, to a certain degree, you don't need to think about channel, because the blended is most important, and the total is the same. There's truth there. When you start talking about channels and attribution, there's less truth and there's a little bit more subjectivity depending on how you look at it. Obviously, for most brands, the majority of their spend is meta, so that's going to be where you should be spending a lot of your time trying to optimize and get working better.
And there's just, more opportunity for your revenue to not be incremental when you branch into new channels.
For sure.
Not to mention the huge amount of focus that each takes.
Huge amount of focus. It's definitely tough and probably not worth your time for a lot of businesses.
So what's working on YouTube? Is it shorts?
No, we actually haven't done any like dedicated short stuff. We're going to test it and try it out. No, it's just standard YouTube, long form. But again, it's hard to measure, right? Like if you look at, let's say Northbeam, and you're looking like the 1 day click is going to look pretty poor. You're going to be a 0.3. Well, fortunately, we're able to run ours at like a 0.7, right? But like, let's say a 0.3 to a 0.5 for most brands. So it's like, that's on like a 1 day click. So it's like, oh, that looks like we're losing money, but you're not really, because it's just top of funnel. And I think that's just for us and where we are at the stage of the game and being a 9-figure business or on pace to be a 9-figure business. Like, it's, you have to kind of actually play a fuller funnel. You can't just go after people that are ready to buy within 1 day on Meta and expect. There's just only so many people in your market that are going to be ready to do that, So there's a few things that we look at to try to understand what the real value is, because if we just went off that 1 day click, we'd pause it. We'd be like, YouTube doesn't work. But really, there's so much value in it. We'll be able to scale. Just YouTube is such a big audience. We'll be able to scale that pretty hard. It's our highest AOV paid channel. So lots of good things. But yeah, I'm happy to break that down and talk about what we look at.
Yeah, go for it. Tell me more about YouTube.
All right, cool. So simplest way, right? You should always look at MER, AMER. This is not scientific, but as you're spending more money and you're spending a significant amount of money, again, 12% of our spend is going to YouTube. Like, if we were spending 12% of our spend going to YouTube and it didn't do anything and it wasn't incremental at all, we would probably not have a good MER and AMER unless something else was so efficient. So that's obviously one, but it's not a really scientific way to do it. The number two is post-purchase survey, right? A lot of people talk about it. Again, not scientific, no source of truth, but it gives some directional stuff. So number one, where are we at now in terms of just trying to understand, okay, what percentage of people say they find us on YouTube as a first touch point? You understand the difference between what percentage of people say they find us on their first touch point versus what percentage of people say that's what they brought them to the site today. So you can get some idea of, where in the funnel does this sit for us? Is it first click or is it last click? And then because YouTube is such a view-based channel, again, that's part of the value directionally, not for accuracy, but directionally of the post-purchase survey, and what that can help you do is you can kind of build a very, very, very simple, napkin math model of, like a multiplier for your 1 day click or your in-platform metrics. For example, let's say if we took our YouTube and we had a ROAS of 2 of where did you first find us, right? And we'll do that by saying, okay, let's say it was 50K of revenue is attributed to YouTube from the first purchase survey, and half the people that buy take our survey. So we're going to double that number, right? If that makes sense. So that's 100K of value. And in a Northbeam 1 day click, that might say that we're getting a quarter of that, so 25K, right? And so we're just going to apply a multiple of that of 4 and say if our goal is a 2, we really want to be at a 0.5, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
hopefully
in the coal mine, leading indicators.
Yeah, exactly. Leading indicators are kind of like multiplier, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like rough idea of how we do it. And then again, we'll just continue to bump spend, pull it back or bump spend and see like, when we're spending 5K a day, 2% of people say they found us on YouTube. When we're spending 10K a day, 5% of people. Like clearly I'm not going to call it incrementality because that's not how you properly measure it, but clearly there's some effect there. And then at our size, it makes sense to actually start looking into media mix modeling and incrementality testing. So doing I think they actually just announced it, some media mix modeling with Northbeam. So we've been an early partner of that, and that's really eye-opening to see and watch. And then incrementality testing, just started using a platform called House, and kind of, self-serve, you can do it with them as well. Incrementality testing where you can run YouTube just in certain regions and see how new customer revenue or whatever your primary KPIs compare. That's a lot of fun and a lot of what I'm excited about.
Does your organic strategy overlap much with what you're doing on the paid side of YouTube?
Yes, I think so. That's probably one of our biggest opportunities in terms of organic kind of owned content creation on YouTube. And we're putting the pieces together in terms of trying to get it there and building out our team and our content production studio and team. We're not there yet, but yeah, definitely. I see that as a huge opportunity. We've pretty much stopped organic TikTok as well. And we're going really hard on YouTube for both. I just think there's more staying power. I think TikTok has peaked. I think it was, I don't want to say a fad. It's clearly not going anywhere, but the growth of it is definitely down. And I think, these other platforms, like I think Instagram is doing a great job. I really do. I don't think they're getting enough credit. It's still the biggest for beauty, at least. And I think YouTube is not going anywhere anytime soon.
We launched a podcast this past week that was basically with our YouTube team at Pilot House, and they launched for a brand Rux. They launched one of their best looking ads in their regular shorts feed. And it went viral and they got 500,000 impressions.
That's sick, really.
Just by posting a decent ad, and they had the full channel status, so they were able to drive directly to the website, drove some good revenue.
But it was organic. This was not an ad. They just put it up as a short.
They just put up because I always talk about like taking great organic content and running it as ads. You test that, but this is the the where you take an ad, run it in the shorts feed, and it did really well. So it might be worth testing.
That's sick. Yeah, we're right now we're just kind of dabbling with YouTube Shorts and just putting organic reels and TikToks up there. And again, it's not huge. It's small amount of views, but it's something. It's growing subscribers to our YouTube channel. But I got to test that. That's a good idea. We're also just about to test. So you can't run YouTube Shorts only placements, but what you can do is you can upload vertical only video, and you can target mobile only. So it's kind of like a hack to primarily show up in Shorts. So we'll see how that goes as well.
Are you running these YouTube ads yourself as well?
Yeah, we buy it in-house, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, we buy it in-house.
And then how much are you, I guess I actually don't remember the really automated setting that YouTube's rolled out, but are you running heavily on their AI?
Like Performance Max?
Yeah, Performance Max. Are you running heavily on PMax?
No, we run YouTube separately. We are also running heavily on Performance Max. So a lot of people know from Twitter, Ben Kruger actually started consulting with us.
He's coming on the pod soon, yeah.
Dude, he's coming on ours next week. I'm awesome. I'm really excited. Ben's awesome. He actually lives town next door, I found out. So he comes into our office and we kind of work on this stuff. And Google's not my expertise, not my background. So it's been really fun to learn. And he saw our account. He's like, you guys have a really big opportunity with non-branded. Everything was pretty much branded, And so we're testing PMax, and it's actually really, really fun and interesting. And what we're doing is we're kind of hacking that. So we kept our branded PMax. We've got some, YouTube stuff in it, but again, we're running YouTube separately outside of it, but then we're doing a non-branded and we're kind of, I guess, hacking it a little bit. So we're getting a lot more aggressive with our target bids. So, our min ROAS is a lot more aggressive, less efficient. And then we are excluding existing customers. And what we're doing currently right now is we're tracking that in Northbeam, and we're seeing, ROAS versus kind of like just on new customers versus all. And then looking at, site traffic, new versus returning, we're definitely able, I think, to drive more new customers from the kind of like the non-branded PMax. And I think that's really interesting and exciting for us. So that's another area. I don't think it's going to be giant, but I think there's going to be a little bit of extra new customer revenue and scale that we can kind of etch out there.
Very cool. When we last spoke, I believe you were driving a lot of your traffic to the quiz. Are you
still almost all?
That's crazy. And how have you evolved the quiz since, or is it still essentially the same quiz?
That's a really good question. So we primarily run ads for probably 2 to 3 products. As we launch new things, we'll test. Most of them are probably not going to become paid acquisition products. Our best paid acquisition products, I think, regardless of the size of the brand, I think most brands are going to have, 1 to 2 primary new customer acquisition paid funnels. I've talked to 9-figure brands, and that's kind of it. There's going to be best margins. They're going to be most unique, not necessarily best products, but most unique. So it's easy. Like, for example, there's only so much you can say about a mascara. Every brand's got a mascara. Every brand is going to say theirs is the best. It's hard to be wildly differentiated. But something like Miracle Balm or What the Foundation, they're very different. So we'll test things, and when it makes sense, we'll run a quiz if it's a shade finding thing. But we haven't really tested a ton in terms of our quiz specifically. We're just developing like a new results page, trying to, beef that up, get conversion rate better, give it a better experience, but also, get AOV up of that with some upsells. So that'll be coming soon. But yeah, it pretty much all goes through a quiz, which is great for our email list growth.
That's got to be some of the most spend behind like a single quiz. Like I used to run a lot of quiz funnels way back in the day as an affiliate marketer. We used to put a lot of revenue through there. But what
about V-Shred? You know them? They run everything.
Oh
through
yeah.
Quiz.
Oh, do they as well?
Know
okay.
Their size. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're huge.
They're probably spending much more.
Yeah. No, probably. That's crazy. Yeah. V-Shred.
Il Maquillage is another beauty brand, and I think almost all their spend goes through a quiz as well.
Are you a Shopify brand owner looking to win, keep, and grow your customers? Everyone knows apps are fast becoming the best way to increase retention and boost sales. A sleek and engaging app normally means two things, time and money. But App Tile have changed the game. Their seamless no-code editor enables beautiful, personalized journeys for every customer. And with their free plan, nothing is stopping you from getting started. You'll pay as you grow, not as you go. So whether you're just starting out or a Shopify superstar, head over to apptile.com today and start designing your dream app.
Well, let's talk about your formula here. This is just fundamental marketing stuff that anyone listening to this podcast can like walk away with. Talk about how you think, like if you got had a falling out with Bobby and you had to go to another company and then you're starting from scratch, like how would you think about getting launching a new brand?
New brand, or are we talking about like new ad account?
New ad account. Let's talk about the new ad account, specifically a new Meta Ads account for an established brand, a brand that already had some customers that you were just trying to scale.
Let's do a new one. Yeah, I mean, what I would do is I would leave the Meta ad buying to be as simple as possible because I know that you've had some fantastic guests on recently, and they've talked even from Meta, and they talked about Advantage Plus and consolidation and machine learning. So echo that. Definitely lean into it. Too many people are fighting it. I've done a bunch of audits, and I have seen even established brands like just fighting it, continuing to do ABOs, continuing to do really fragmented, unconsolidated structures. So keep it really simple. If you're just launching, you don't have a big budget, you're probably only having one campaign and one ad set. Like you got to get 50 conversions per week. And that being said, I'm really not going to mess around. The only time maybe in the beginning I'll test like an interest stack, so as broad as possible, but an interest stack, because maybe if it's a brand new ad account, you don't have enough data for broad. Outside of that, 95% of the time, I'm going broad. And so, that's really simple. So it's like, okay, what are you actually testing? Your offer, your creative, and your landing pages in that order. And so offer, Do
you limit it to women or do you let Facebook do that?
I don't. No. Don't do ages, don't do women.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can check, but I would imagine 90+% of our spend is going to women.
Yep.
Guys, the machine learning is really good. It's a lot smarter than you are. So I would go offer first. And so here's how I think about an offer. An offer is simply what you're offering to the market. It's a combination of the product, the price, any conditions that come with it, meaning returns, guarantees, refunds, and stuff like that, and really, your offer can take you a long way. So again, it doesn't mean you have to do a discount. I think too many people think that. It doesn't mean you have to do a bundle. You certainly can.
There's all sorts of ways to add values. There's digital products. There's, and all of that can go into what you test in your offer.
Well, what people don't realize is you don't have to do a discount. Domino's Pizza had one of the best offers. I always use it as an example. They did get it in 30 minutes or your money back. That is an offer that catapulted their business.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be, here's a discount, here's this thing.
The Sports
Illustrated offer.
The Sports Illustrated football phone story, right? Where they got the most subscriptions ever, and people just wanted that football phone more than anything.
Oh, was it a gift with purchase?
Yeah, it was gift with purchase. Yeah,
I mean that's my favorite type of offer. We can talk about that. I've got some data on what we've done, but yeah. So it's what your product running, right? So first of all, it has to be desirable. People have to want it, so they want your product. plus free gift, bundle, whatever it is. There's pros and cons of each. Secondly is your margins, right? You want to make sure that it's something that you can put paid spend behind and still be profitable. So, you need to understand your landed gross margin, which is you take your cost of goods. So you take your gross margin, which would be your cost of goods. Hopefully you shoot for 75% plus on that. And then all of the other costs that are associated with getting it to somebody's door. So if Eric orders it, there's fulfillment costs, there's shipping, there's merchant processing, all that type of stuff. That you net of that, but before your cost per acquisition would be what I call at least your landed gross margin. And that is super important because that tells you what you can spend to acquire a customer at break even. And I think you need to know that. I think that's the most important thing. Hopefully you're shooting for 50% plus with as high of an AOV as possible. One quick call out, a lot of people focus so much on AOV, but I think a lot of what they do to get a higher AOV is give steep discounts so that you're not actually improving that gross margin. So that's really what you want to be tracking. You should have a calculator where you're testing and playing around with it, but then you have to test and you have to put it out to the market and see, does this gift with purchase do better? Do people want this kit? Whatnot, So that's what I'd be testing. And then I'm going to go and test creative. And especially when you're launching something new, you don't know what's going to work and you don't know what's going to resonate. You might think, whether it's a new brand or you're just coming in for the first time, that, angle A is what's going to work best, but you have no idea and it could be angle C. So you really got to do that. You've got to test in a really strategic fashion where you're only changing one variable at a time. So you're actually learning and you're not just testing randomly. So, I'm all about, let's say it's video. Again, this is very simple to most people, but same video, test one hook. So I might have, it depends on budget, and I don't want to get too tactical of like how many ad sets and campaigns, because it's all going to depend on your budget. Per ad set, you want to get 50 conversions per week. If you only have the budget to do that, you only have one campaign and you've got to just test things, over time. If you've got more budget, you can have more ad sets, which is more tests. And so I might have, different angles. Let's say I'm selling, a phone. I might focus on the long battery life for angle one. I might do 5 videos with 5 different hooks for that angle. And then I might do the phone and I might do another angle. And that might be either a gift with purchase, or that might be no offer, but it might be I'm focusing on the sleek design, right? And you just don't know what's kind of going to work. And so that's creative, and that's how I approach it. And it's just a very iterative process. But, once you get the offer, a lot of your time should be going to creative.
Angles are the key there, really, right? Like being able to really think about your product through different lenses, really focusing on benefits, benefits over features in those cases, specifically to that avatar, specifically for that use.
Yeah, exactly. Because first of all, you have no idea what's going to resonate. I don't care how good you are and how much you've spent. You just don't know. And every week I'm surprised because I think something is going to work and it doesn't. So you've just always got to, be humble about it and put it out there. But secondly, again, not the first person to talk about this probably on this podcast, the targeting has gone from the ad set level to the ad level. And what that means, it's kind of like if you picture TikTok's organic algorithm, right? You put up a video and you're no longer showing things to your followers, you're showing it to the For You page. And, let's say it's something about golf and I happen to see it and I resonate with it, I engage with it, which means I watch it and I comment on it and I share it, and Eric doesn't. Well, the algorithm is no longer going to show it to people like Eric. It's going to create a little lookalike and not show it to people like Eric. It's going to realize pretty quickly it's going to show it to people like me, even though there's no targeting, right? And I think meta advertising is very similar now, where even though broad targeting, you're not actually targeting a broad audience where you're going to everybody. It's just using the data that it gets from like the first however many impressions to figure out who's likely to respond well to this ad and who's not, who's going to watch it.
Based on their social graph.
It.
Based on, what I mean? Like they're they're looking at the semantic connections between these first little interactions with your brand to all the other brands they have and slotting you in there.
Exactly. So you're not targeting to everybody. So the best way to actually reach people is to kind of call them out in your creative. And so you can get very specific with it and target a broad audience, but actually target a very niche interest audience that just falls under broad by speaking to them very differently, So you can talk to different avatars very differently, and you might be surprised that the people that are buying your product is not who you expected.
And nothing better. And I just feel like ChatGPT, we don't need to go down this rabbit hole, but it's that's such a good use for it in some ways, is to do that like yeoman's work of getting in other people's heads and thinking about their problems. I feel like that's something that ChatGPT is pretty good at unearthing.
I haven't done that, but yeah, that would be a good idea. And then you can, take that to landing pages.
Yeah,
put a ton
number
of time.
4. And you can't,
Yeah.
like, at what stage, like I was going to say, like, do you have to be spending a certain amount before people should be thinking about custom landing pages? Probably not, because landing pages are where your offer lives in a way, right? Like,
That's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, it's a little hard in the beginning to test a lot because the lower you go in the funnel, right, the less impressions or the less traffic you're going to have, and that you're not getting enough data. So that's why, like, testing your hooks and testing your creative is the first step. It's a lot harder to test something lower down in the funnel. But yeah, you should definitely have one. I have very rarely seen a PDP, a homepage, or a collections page work better than a good dedicated landing page.
yeah.
So
Where do you build yours?
We use Replo,
okay.
Investor and Replo, and work with them. But it's the best. It's like Webflow for Shopify is how I describe it. Like,
I like that.
You know, it's very drag and drop. You don't have to, but it's, you know, it's really good. The performance is really good, meaning the speed is really good. It's so easy to duplicate. So we have people on our team constantly in Replo. You know, everything gets designed in Figma, and then we can kind of export it. It's kind of cool. They raise money from Figma Ventures, so I think part of what they're working on is like being able to just take a Figma design and like having AI kind of throw it into Replo, which is cool. But a few types of pages. I think everybody should start probably with a listicle. And the reason why is, first of all, listicles can do really well. We run a good amount of our traffic through a listicle, which is just like a 5 reasons why, 7 reasons why. I think in the beginning, what you need to be testing is your messaging more than anything, not as much design. And listicles are really all about the messaging and not about the design. They're not the prettiest pages. You're not going to win any design awards, but they just convert. And I don't think you want to lose because of design here. Especially for a small company, you know, you can just duplicate a template that Replo has of a listicle and launch it in a day, right? They're just super simple. And yeah, I would just test, besides different offers on the page, I would just test your different headlines and match that up with the creative that happens to be working on your ads. For example, what we found was a good headline on ads a year ago was "The Secret to No Makeup Makeup," and that's our headline on our not on a listicle, but that's on our kind of our other page, which I call Trojan Horse, and it's been there, you know, through millions and millions of spend, and has continued to be the winner. But yeah, you want to keep testing headlines on landing pages. You want to test different structures, but of course, when you're launching, you don't have the budget to test that much.
Where does the quiz fit in? I know that's a custom thing for you guys, not your advice necessarily to everyone, but because the quiz would still go to a landing page, and you're also trying to sell them.
No, we go other way. We go other way. So we go landing page first. So it's kind of interesting. Okay. So let's say we have 2 hero products. For Miracle Balm, we go to what I call a Trojan Horse. It kind of looks like a standard homepage, but it's got like a fake navigation that scrolls down instead of like a real navigation. It's got, you know, but we try to make it look like a homepage, but with more like conversion optimized elements where everything is on that page that they need. And then our offer on that page, instead of buy now, it's find your shade, because most people's main objection to buy makeup online is I don't know their shade. We have tested, you know, in the past pretty thoroughly of going, you know, from this page to PDP, or from this page to collections page, or from this page to quiz. Quiz, highest revenue per session, highest AOV, highest conversion rate, which is awesome. I guess backs up the theory that people, you know, need to. We've tested driving traffic straight to a quiz because I've seen other brands do it. Didn't work as well for us. We needed to put a little bit more education and information within that. So for us, the call to action is just find my shade, and all of the buttons just say find my shade. We're testing. We're doing a lot of gift with purchase stuff, which we're changing to unlock offer for the button, but it's still going through a quiz.
Nice. Well, just let's crystallize that first of all as a great, like, you know, if you're listening and you're getting started, you know, follow that advice. Listen to this podcast. Listen to Ben Yahalom's as well with
such a good podcast
with our Google director as well. I think those 2 bookends right there. There's a lot you're gonna learn about Facebook ads if you master that stuff. Let's talk gift with purchase though. What are you doing with gift with purchase? What's worked well?
Yeah, it's a great question. So kind of the reason why we want to do gift with purchase, at least for us, we see our hero products, Miracle Balm with Foundation, best for acquisition, best volume, best customer acquisition costs. Only negatives, they don't have our highest LTV. You know, it's not awful, but it's not some of our other products. So that's something you should be thinking about, probably not in the beginning, but later stages in terms of crafting an offer, is also what is bringing you the highest quality of customers. what I've seen across brands is if you do a kit or a bundle or something like that, that's often the highest LTV because usually it's a higher AOV. So people that can afford to spend more on first purchase can usually afford to spend more on second purchase and come back more. But secondly, if you're just getting a single product, you kind of have a 1-in-1 shot of liking it. You either do or you don't. If somebody's buying 4 products, maybe they don't like product A, which is your hero product, but maybe they love product B. So that's another way to think about offers. And so partly why we wanted to do a gift with purchase is it's an attractive offer. We don't like doing discounts, but maybe it's an attractive offer. You can test a threshold, right? You only get it above a certain amount, so it can raise average order value. But also maybe mascara is not a product that we can, pump on paid acquisition because the reasons I said before. But if we do Miracle Balm, but you spend this, you get a free mini mascara, maybe. First of all, Miracle Balm is also really big, so they're not going to come back and replenish that. But they use up the mini mascara, and they're coming back to get that, and they love it. It's less of a polarizing product. So that's what we did. We tested. There's this really cool app. It's called IntelliGems. You can do like price testing, but you can also do gift with purchase and offer testing. They're actually, I think, trying to like do all landing page testing, kind of when Google Optimize goes away. So big fan of that app. So we tested no offer versus a mini mascara versus a mini hippie stick. It's like I kind of use it as my lip balm. It's like a skincare thing in here, right? That we don't normally sell. Mainly looking at obviously revenue per session as well as gross profit per session or contribution margin because there's a cost associated. And what we found was for us at least, we don't do a threshold on our normal stuff. We did $100 threshold because it's kind of where we want to be average order value. We bumped average order value by quite a bit, 10+% with gift with purchase, with very marginal decreases in conversion rate. So better revenue per session. The revenue per session made up for the additional cost of a few bucks for this, right? There's not really any extra fulfillment or shipping costs because it's light and small. So that's another bonus, but we were able to bump average order value by quite amount. And this is why offers are so important. There's almost nothing we could do to creative or landing pages outside of offers to bump average order value by 10%. I don't care how good you are at marketing, you can't. Offer is the only way to do that. It's just your biggest lever.
And it just sets the tone too. Again, for like last time I spent this much at the brand, right? There's this psychological thing, like, okay, I guess that's what my order size is, kind of thing. So it probably just sets the tone well for everything. Yeah.
Hopefully, theoretically, we're now getting more plus $100 customers who have money and qualified themselves. And so what we found is not only that we're pretty early into the testing, but it's looking promising for retention as well, meaning people that are taking this gift with purchase offer are actually more likely to come back, which is it's a plus. Like we'd have a hard decision because we don't really, it depends what you're optimizing for. Let's say we were making less profit on the first order, but they were coming back more often, then it's like, oh, there might be some value in that, and you can model that out. Fortunately for us, it looks like we're making the same or more on the first order, and they're more likely to come back. So that's been a huge unlock for us, and one we're continuing to test, but I'm pumped about.
You're pretty easy to get along with type of guy, but you got any hot takes lately that like? Because it's funny just the Twitter D2C beefs of like Taylor Holiday and cost caps, being so hardcore on cost caps versus other people being more laissez-faire about them. Any hot takes that you have, and also what do you think about cost caps?
Man, I'm trying to not let internet drama bug me. I'm 30 years old. I got a child now.
Congrats.
But no, I'm just kidding.
You're still a child.
Yeah, very, very much so. I think the TikTok take that I have is probably a hot take that I think TikTok has peaked, and I think organically as well. I just think the platform is on its way down. I'm not saying it's dying. I think it's probably going to.
I'm going to stand up for TikTok one time and just say, still to me as a consumer of interesting media, no other platform holds a candle to the depth of weirdness that TikTok has. Like it's like Reels is still so surface and so it's fun or whatever, but I feel like TikTok still has a pretty deep connection with people, which is personally why I think the governments of the world are like I think the government wanting to ban it is less about China having all the data because they all have all the data, I think, and more about like the weird shit that people are sharing on TikTok. That's my hot take.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess, I mean, I see that and I still use it a little bit. And I do agree it's a different experience and probably better. I do think Instagram's doing a really good job of kind of recommending content that, it's clear that you're engaging with, but it's just not the same creativity of the content.
Yeah. You know what my idea was? I was talking with a guy that does a big company in town here that does huge amounts of video serving. They do video serving for the NBA, the NFL. One of the biggest video servers in the world are called Send2 News, or I think they rebranded recently. But I was suggesting, like, if you're ever in the web, like I love how you're in Twitter now, and if you click on a video, you can click back out and navigate, but you can also just swipe the video and have that like live video experience in Twitter. I was wondering, like, could you have that on the mobile web, for instance? Like, could you, if you're on the mobile web and you're watching a video, could you watch other NBA videos just by swiping through? I was like, I think that's a good idea for you guys.
What do you say?
He was like, he's like, he didn't know. He thought there might be issues with the publishers and the different things. And I'm like, figure it out, dude.
And Twitter, I think would be like that. Another hot take. I think Twitter would be really well positioned to capture short kind of consumption if TikTok went away. Like obviously Instagram is well positioned, YouTube is, but I feel like Twitter could, kind of spin just up another feed and kind of take care of that. Cause like Twitter is already kind of like very user generated content and it's just people typing away at their phone. And obviously they had Vine. So I think that would be an interesting one.
It's weird that they don't actually have that as an option. You have to kind of like find it by swiping in their videos, but like actually having a feed that was your video feed, like Elon, what are you doing?
Well, they're working on it. They just changed the name from Twitter to x.com or whatever.
Oh, that's right. Well, like, yeah, that's funny.
The Everything app.
The Everything app.
Cost
Here we
caps.
go.
So real quick on cost caps. Yeah, I mean, in theory, I absolutely love them. I think, one thing I really like about them is it's leaning into machine learning. I think, like I said before, you've just got to lean into it. And if you think you're making better decisions, say in the algorithm, not great. So in theory, I love them. I also love them because, the concept of like testing and scaling sounds good in theory, doesn't totally work out as much. You can have something great in a test, but doesn't scale well. So I love the idea of just running these separately and having the cost cap and, your bid determine your spend. I've just tried them, at least for Jones Road, and it just has never gotten the results that I'm looking for. Not as much stability. For us, I want to be able to forecast and manage our spend a lot better than that. So it's really hard when you've got these days where you might be spending this much and then you're spending triple that in a day. I just haven't found the same success with them. My only issue, I just don't love the dogmatism. I think there's a lot of ways to skin the cat. I think I like broad audiences. I like consolidated. I know people that have success on interest. I know people that have success on lookalikes do what the ad account likes. And so that's my only hot take about them.
I like a lot of ways to skin the cat. One of the weirdest expressions in the human language. I'd like to know where that came from.
What about shit hit the fan? Like who came up with that? Like,
well, shit hit the fan does make sense.
Why was shit hitting the fan? Well, why was it up there?
You can tell that's a bad situation, but the whole idea of like skinning, like why would you ever skin a cat? I guess why would you ever shit in a fan? Why would you piss up a rope? I don't know why you do any of these things.
I haven't heard the piss up a rope thing.
Don't piss up a rope. Don't even try. And the most important question I have you shipped the care package yet for my daughter?
Not yet. Sorry. Okay. We had some internal turnover, so I've been kind of busy with that, but I got you.
Literally every day.
Promise.
Literally every day.
You.
So
I got you next week.
Nice. Okay, that's fantastic. She'll love to hear that. Nice, man. Thanks for coming on. If you want to, you got to follow Cody Plofker, Cody Plof, on Twitter, and you also have a newsletter. You can plug that quick.
Got a newsie, yeah. So probably best place, you can either go to codyplofker.com and sign up for it, or go to my Twitter, read some of the tweets to see if you like them, and then please sign up, forward it to a friend. I'll send weekly. It's free. You can unsubscribe at any time. Some people tell me it doesn't suck, so would love for you to check it out.
Nice, man. Well, thanks for coming on today. This is awesome. I'm excited to see if you can take down the Sharm. And then we'll get an arms race going on. You guys will just have to come back on all the time. It'd be great.
Dude, that guy's arms are jacked. There's no way. I'm actually on a panel with him in like 2 weeks, and I'm super self-conscious about it because he's jacked as hell right now.
He's jacked now, too?
He's jacked.
He's just the rich get richer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Nice. Well, this was a lot of fun, man. Thanks for coming.
Likewise. Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, you can do that right now at direct-to-consumer, all one word, .co. I'm Eric Dyck, and this has been the D2C Podcast. We'll see you next time.